Hello! We are
Annie and Konstantin.
and you're watching another episode of
Updates.
Post Masters Madness, pre...
Crowdfunding madness.
You need to keep yourself entertained by indulging in madness. What have you been up to?
I have been on the coolest online shopping spree I have ever been on. Because what I get to do right now is search for cool, high quality things that are good, and then also make people put our logos on them. We're doing actual really fun perks that are going to make your life brighter, make you happier, and just generally increase the awesomeness of your entire surroundings.
Especially our digital perks are going to be off the hook.
Our digital perks are going to keep Konstantin at his computer, probably for a week straight, or two. It's really exciting because it's a lot of things that we've been wanting to make for a long time anyway. It's a lot of things that people have asked us about, that people have wanted, and it's just going to be really, really cool and really, really fun. Beyond that, I have been doing some work on my actual graduate school project, which is kind of going into the active research round right now, because when we choose madness, we never choose just one. So here in the next few weeks, there's also going to be updates and news on my search for artists that I'm looking to interview and learn more about. Konstantin already had the honor and the pleasure to be my first little guinea pig for interviewing artists.
Squeak!
How was it?
Squeak! Was actually pretty interesting. I got to answer a lot of very personal questions regarding the art making and my definition of art, for instance. It was a lot of fun to reflect upon my work with someone asking questions and not me looking into the camera and making things up, which is like the usual way I reflect on being an artist.
So, what have you been up to, Konstantin, ever since you turned in your thesis?
I've been a little bit of graphic designing, and besides that, not much except for working, because I'm actually pretty darn happy with my job. So for Anne's master's thesis project, I have been interviewed for about an hour, and for myself, I have always this sort of a divide between, the art that I make for art's sake and my job, photography and film and things like that, to make a living. For me, it's very hard to define what art is. Where does art start? Where does art stop? Is like making film for somebody else, is it still art? How long is it art? Where does it stop? Does it ever stop? And it was interesting that I came to a pretty simple and pretty poignant way of deciding whether that what I do is art or not, and that is, what do I think about first when I start a project. So when I do like a project for somebody else, so the first thing I think about is I think about the audience, as in the client, what the client wants, he wants or thinks he needs, and I think about the audience of the client. But when I do art, which I call art, I start with an idea, with a topic, with a concept that interests me, and the audience is of course very important, because you don't create art in a vacuum. There needs to be an idea that I find fascinating and interesting, and then in the next step I try to find a way how to best present it. But nucleus is always what is a thing that's dear to my heart, if you will. My epiphany is like a pretty poignant way to see also for myself, whereas for me the divide between art and work.
I really like interviewing people. I really like talking to people. I really enjoyed being an advisor back in the day, because your job is to ask questions. Because good questions can help people figure things out. And then the answer doesn't matter so much, it's the question. And I think that's why interviewing is so incredibly fun and is such a fun sport, because you're trying to come up with relevant questions that allow for new thought and for new perspectives. And they're not going to inspire everyone, and they're not always going to work, but they're going to work for some people. I think my epiphany this week is Answers are only so interesting. Sometimes it's the question that really makes things fascinating. Because answers always change. Answers always vary depending on who you are that day and how you're feeling and what matters to you right now. But questions you can carry with you for a long time. So that's what I got this week. Finally. It's true, we've kind of created a habit of reflecting on our life and our work by looking into a camera and rambling, haven't we?
Yeah, I think that's probably like this is unique. Like we've invaded something completely new.
Oh, come on.
I call it video blogging. Hello!